Well, I think in the past, the most notable thing in the newer stadiums around has been retractable type features. And we wanted to do something that replicated something like that. The thought of opening up a side of the building seemed to be a way of having our building stand out among all those other ones. The west facade, it faces downtown. So that was the logical place to start with some type of an operable surface.
The customer goals were to just further enhance the fan experience by creating the open air feel that the large operable doors combined with the ETFE roof system really created inside the building.
The design and coordination process for these doors was a large undertaking.
There was more involved in the doors than just the structural steel. With the plumbing, the electrical, the hydraulics.
Our crews worked with Mortensen very closely. We were on the design project for a year before we even were on site.
When we first started planning on how we were going to construct these doors and how we were going to put work in place, it was really exciting to be a part of something that had never been done. Really presented new challenges with something that you can't lean on somebody and say, hey, how did you do this on the last stadium? Because it hasn't been done.
No one's done a door this tall that swings, pivots on big, huge 8,000-pound bearing. So it's all new for everybody. You're not familiar with anything, so there's a lot of learning curve. There's a lot of planning that goes into it.
We spent at least 6 months in fabrication prior to the first material arriving on site. We ordered the material to fabricate the doors as soon as the door design was to the point that we knew that material sizes weren't going to change.
Once we put the doors together on the ground, then we tripped them up and set them all at one huge piece.
The operable doors was one of many elements on the US Bank Stadium where we actually created a 4D animated model to really understand which way the work needed to be built, how it needed to be delivered, the staging process and the setup process, and how the doors are going to be erected ultimately. So there was a lot of efficiencies that were brought to life by the virtue of our technology that we put into modeling the doors and coming up with a 4D animation of how the doors will function and operate.
The VDC helped in a lot of different ways. We were able to model every anchor on the project. It helped us know if the steel girts were in the right location or if we needed to move our clips up or down. It allowed us to move the frames in and out as necessary, and it became a very valuable tool for the installation.
The 3D technology, which eventually developed into 4D technology, was the first time that I had ever used it on a construction of this size, and I think that was very valuable. We ended up having the building before we even anticipated getting it.
Doors of this magnitude are completely unique, so we had to rely on the expertise of industrial door contractors and work internally with our superintendents to really design a system that met all the tight tolerances of the mechanization, of the structure itself, yet still building something that it's constructible.
The biggest challenge is the fine tolerances that we had on this. It's a lot finer than structural steel, and putting bearings in, we're having arguments over thousandths of an inch, which is minute. Is it 2,000ths? Is it 3,000ths? That's the kind of tolerances you're dealing with sometimes, which is, really unheard of for steel erection.
It's a very large glass wall, and to try to keep the doors in plane so when they open and close, everything lines up and seals properly was a very tough part of the project. The complexity of the doors and the size overall is unlike anything we've ever done before. To get the curtain wall installed on the doors, we had to first install the curtain wall above and around the doors to make sure that everything lined up. And when we started setting glass on the actual doors, in order to keep the doors square, we had to install counterweights, so as we would put a piece of glass on the door, we would take a weight off. And that kept the door perfectly square, so it never came out of alignment.
Pneumatic pistons that drive the doors aren't necessarily new technology, but the application of it to this particular design is unique. We've been able to apply these existing technologies in ways that were never used before that enable us to have this very, very unique design.
Each of the operable doors were 55 feet wide, and they start at 90 feet tall and then slope down to create a profile on the west elevation.
Couldn't believe how big these doors were on the ground, and then obviously in place they're just as big. These doors pivot open and they cantilever out 55 feet. And they can all be opened at once. This whole US Bank Stadium was a one-of-a-kind opportunity for all of us. But then the doors are just amazing. I mean, it's phenomenal.
These doors are simply amazing. I think they are by far and large the most iconic design feature of the stadium in and of itself, and just the phenomenal view that you have of the downtown skyline. And there's days where you walk out here and you can see the entire shadow of the downtown skyline reflecting off the glass.
Well, I see the Vikings' new stadium as being another architectural and engineering wonder, and I still get amazed at what things people are able to accomplish in the construction industry. I mean, it's everything from concrete to steel to all the other materials used. It's an impressive situation to see all of that come together and in a relatively short time frame.
The design was a huge collaboration effort when you put in the technology and the ability of Mortensen to gauge the local markets and to get the right people on the job and to keep them on the job was incredibly invaluable to our success here and the ability to get this building open early.
The doors truly accomplished what we had intended, to open up an entire side of the building and blend the interior and exterior space and really use it to enhance the fan experience and make US Bank Stadium the iconic venue that it is.